I love Codex. OpenAI's Codex might be the most incredible piece of software I've ever used, and I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but I think I can make a case for it because this feels like a new paradigm of software. This is no longer a coding tool for developers. OpenAI clearly sees this as the one meta app that they want to sit at the center of all of your workflows, like an orchestrator or a nervous system for your computer. It's already so powerful, but it's only going to get better. And I just need to show you some stuff, all right? We just need to take a look at this and see what it can do. The first thing to know is that Codex now has the new Image 2 model built in, so we can generate images that are extremely photorealistic or infographics. It can ground the images in real-world data so that they're more accurate, but it can also generate UIs. So we can build a little game. Let's tell it to create a photo of a 2D retro game interface where you have to whack lobsters, like whack-a-mole, but with lobsters. It has some really innovative retro design and game mechanics, cream-colored background, orange lobsters that look blocky and squarish, etc. Awesome. This looks like a pretty nice interface. You can see the blocky graphics. There's a nice pathway where the lobsters come out of the hatches. There's combos, power-ups, tide meters, bonus targets. Let's actually turn this image it created into a real browser game. We can say, great, now turn that photo into a working browser game of the same design, use SVGs for the images, and add all the shown game mechanics such as the tide meter, power-ups, and bonus targets. And we'll tell it to use a skill, which we'll get to in a moment, called Game Studio. We'll let that run because it'll take a while. While that's working, let's do something else. Did you know that Codex now has a computer use plugin? This allows it to use a mouse on your computer and take screenshots to interact with apps on your computer outside of Codex. So let's try it in a chat. We can activate the computer use plugin and say, play songs by HotSense82 from YouTube Music. It found the app on my Mac. You can see it activated its own little cursor. Search for HotSense82, and it started playing tracks. I have it muted so I don't get a copyright strike, but trust me, it's actually playing the songs. And back in Codex, I could say something else like, great, but I want to play that Diplo song that goes, stay high all the time, or something like that. It continues that context within YouTube Music, does another search. Perfect, it did a search for Diplo, stay high all the time, was able to use the interface, reason about whether or not this is the right track, find the button on my computer, and then actually press that button to take the action. That's actually pretty cool. This is what Siri is supposed to do, by the way, but instead we have to use OpenAI on my Mac instead of Siri, but that's another story. It's pretty slow. It took like 1.5 minutes to do something that would take me 10 seconds. But for cases where that doesn't matter, maybe it's remote and I just give it a task, this is pretty amazing. And that's what I mean about this being a new paradigm of software, because it can take actions across my machine outside of its own sandbox to do work on my behalf. Another way it can do this is with a new feature called Systemwide dictation. I can set up a hotkey, and then every time I use that within any app on my Mac, as long as Codex is open, it will dictate, and it's much more powerful than the Siri dictation. So I can open up a note, and whenever I hold down Command D, you may be able to see it on the bottom of the screen, or it might be out of view, but there's a little indicator that lets me know that I'm dictating. And this is, in my experience, much more accurate than the built-in Siri dictation on a Mac. And if I let go, it'll show me what I have typed. Yeah, that looks great. The punctuation is right. I can even go crazy with this and say, the Chassagne Montmarché had much better élevage than the Givry Chambertin. Yeah, try that, Siri. Yet another way that Codex can do real work outside of its own sandbox is with browser use. This will actually open up a browser inside of Codex that's built in, and much like the computer use, it can visualize what's on the screen and take actions. So it could fill out forms for you. This is great for coding when you want to test your apps. You can tell your AI to build the app, then test it, fix the bugs, and then you can test it only when it's done. We can also use it for simple things like check the MLB homepage to see if the Padres lost, and I'm sure they did because they're such a second-rate National League West team. So we can see it invokes the browser, opened up automatically. Says the MLB homepage is loaded cleanly. It's going to look for the Padres results. Ah, great. The Cubs lost to the Padres yesterday, and it lets us know that the next game is today on April 30th. It's obviously a pretty contrived and simple example, but the way it can actually use browsers, take actions, fill out forms can be really powerful. The thing I really want to impress upon you about Codex is that it's basically Claude Code plus Claude Cowork built into one. I always felt those two were kind of awkward because Cowork is really the same as Claude Code with different branding. There may be some different changes to the harnessing and all that, but it's mostly the same app that can act on your file system to do coding work or other types of work. Codex doesn't make that distinction, so don't think it's just for coding. It can do all kinds of work. It can work with files, clean up your file system, edit files. So I have a spreadsheet here, a CSV file. These are a list of wine retailers. I have a small wine app that I'm working on, and I'd like to get their inventory listed in my app, so I need to find their contact info and send them an email. So this is a great chance to give Codex some real work. We can say, all right, so I have a CSV of wine retailers in this folder. I'd like to contact their sales or management to ask if they'd like to include their inventory in my app. Please do research on 5 or 6 of the companies that aren't already listed to find their contact info and update the doc. So it's taking a look at the CSV file. Great, so it now found a couple of companies that it knows it needs to research, like Mission Wine, Acker Wine, etc. We'll let that run and we'll go check back on our game. It's been about 10 minutes. I wonder if the game is now complete. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, it worked for over 23 minutes all by itself from that one prompt. It said it built a self-contained browser game, just in HTML, I guess. It includes the retro arcade UI, orange lobsters, trapdoors. There's Pearl Armored Lobsters, which sounds exciting, target zones, and the 3 power-ups. So we can actually just open the HTML file, I think. Okay, it doesn't exactly look like the image, but in general, I get the idea. We have to just press start. I think we press the space bar. Okay, there's the lobsters. I can see the tide meter going up. I don't know exactly what it does or why some of them have orange, yellow around them. And there's power-ups. Do I use those? Okay, I froze the tide. I don't know what that did. There's also buoys. I don't know what the buoys are for. I'm getting more points. Okay, so it's not exactly like the image, but I have some questions about the game mechanics. It's actually pretty deep. And I could keep going back and forth. We won't waste our time, but that's pretty cool. I didn't come up with the idea. I didn't come up with the game mechanics. I just created an image using image 2 and then created an entire game based on that. It works for 23 minutes and seems to have a working game with very few bugs, which is pretty awesome. And let's go back and check on the wine retailers that it was researching while we were playing the game. And it says it's updated 6 retailers, left the other ones intact, so we can open up our CSV. And yeah, it seems to have found the contact info for all of these different companies. It has all their approximate inventory, the best email contact, phone number, and some notes as well, making our job a lot easier. So that's what I mean about this being much more than a coding tool for developers now. This is a general purpose knowledge work tool that can manipulate files on your computer, use a web browser, do research on its own, reason about information, and come back and actually update your documents in a way that I think works better than any other app does right now for that purpose. So yeah, this video has been like, what, maybe 10 minutes long? I think it was 23 minutes of filming time since I started the coding task. And in that time, we've done real-world marketing research for my business. We've designed and built an entire web game. We have used computer use to play music. We have used dictation in a notes app. We've used the browser. And a lot of that was happening simultaneously while we were doing other things. It's just phenomenal what this tool can accomplish. But that brings us to the elephant in the room, which is, of course, cost, or more importantly, usage limits. If this was Claude, we would have gotten locked out like a half an hour ago, and we'd be like $400 in overage charges, or maybe we just would have got banned if you saw my last video. So let's take a look at how much all this has cost us in terms of our usage limit. And for context, I'm on the $100 Pro plan, which is like the 5X plan. So we can look at our limits, see our limits remaining, and I started this with 100% of my 5-hour limit, and guys, you can see we're at 97%. So all of what we've done has used 3% of my 5-hour usage limit. And to be fair, they have a promo right now where it's doubled the usage, so it's from 5 to 10x. So realistically, we've used 6% of my usage limits in all that we've done. So I don't know if this will last. Honestly, I feel like it's too good of a deal and it's going to get more expensive. I'm almost sure of that. But this is incredible. And we didn't even get into all of the nuance. Like there's automations where you can have Codex perform certain tasks on certain timetables or when certain events happen. There's all of these other plugins, like hundreds of them, that can connect to things like Google Drive, Gmail, Notion, Vercel, Figma. It can connect to all of the apps you already use. Oh, and memories. We didn't even talk about memories. So Codex has a memory feature that will log things that happen in your project that it needs to remember, but it also has a really powerful feature called Chronicle, which saves screenshots as you're working and then uses them to infer context beyond what you've talked about, which is kind of creepy and may imply some privacy issues, and I have not used it myself. But it's a really innovative idea that makes it able to keep memories of things you didn't talk about, and Sam Altman seems to like it, so that must mean it's wonderful. I mean, is it weird that I feel kind of giddy to use this software? It's definitely weird, but it's also true because I wake up and I'm excited to write code with Codex. I'm excited to do research and to plan and to design and to work with spreadsheets. Who's excited to work with spreadsheets? And I think the reason this is so good is because it does orchestration so well. Like, yes, the models are amazing. GPT 5.5 is very good. The new Image 2 model is amazing. And it brings all of that together in a way that orchestrates systems better than any other software. It's almost like a little machine within the machine, if that makes sense. Like it can do its own thing. It's got the intelligence and the neurons, but it can also reach out to the rest of your computer, as we saw in the video, to do things that normal software can't do. It's a new paradigm of software, and I think this is the future. I would not sleep on Codex. I would expect this type of software to grow dramatically over the next 6 to 12 months. And I think the people who really learn how to optimize this kind of tool now will be able to do incredible things in the future. So that's why I think this one little boring gray and white box is the greatest piece of software I've ever used. If you disagree, start a fight with me in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.